Well, hello and welcome to another Think Good conversation. I'm your host, Deb Cummins Stellato. And today I want to talk about playing small. Today I want to talk about playing small. And I want to talk about my own limited thinking and my own aha that I've experienced over the last 24 hours by playing small. So, many of you know that I just completed writing a chapter in a book called Elevate Your Voice, which features the 14 stories of women um, sharing their experiences around courage, inspiration, strength, perseverance, and hope. It was a collaborative project, it was a 9-month project. And I think throughout most of the book writing process, I was singularly focused on getting my chapter done and supporting the other women in the process. I really honestly had not spent a whole lot of time thinking about playing big with this world of writing and books and outcomes until yesterday. And in the last few weeks, we have been gathering with our publisher a launch team to ensure that the book had a good start and launch. And I've learned so much about book publishing and I've learned so much about positioning your book. And so for the last few weeks, we've been going through the activities of getting the book out into the world. But it wasn't until yesterday that I really realized that I had been playing really small and that I had had almost no expectations about this book. That I had been living in a place of having no expectations about this book. And why was that? Well, I think part of it is because the book is a very personal story of my chapter is a very personal story about my 364-day grief journey. It's heartbreaking for me to still read it. I wanted to just finish it. I did start to think in the last few weeks more about, as I was giving early copies to people, thinking about like, wow, my words are now in somebody else's hands. And I started thinking in a really small way, like in a really, really small way about what my chapter could do for other people and about what this book could do for other people. I think I had looked at it in somewhat more of a selfish way than I usually look at things in my life. I had looked at it as something that I wanted to accomplish, that I wanted to check off my to do list, that I wanted to say I had completed. And the completion part is really important for me because I'm known as a really good starter and not always a good finisher. So, up to last week, I was celebrating this chapter as something that I had completed. And I really wasn't giving much thought to what might be next with this book. I always like to say, it's part of my story, that I'm not competitive. I grew up in the 60s. I grew up in New Jersey in the 60s. And, we didn't have a lot of opportunities in athletics. I made a really conscious decision when I was a kid not to compete within my incredibly brilliant family. Both my parents were academically rock stars. My mom had 2 master's degrees and a doctorate. My dad was an attorney who also had an additional degree with law. And my brother, super smart, super brilliant, super successful. And, it's an interesting story, right? I chose not to play that game. And so I've often said to people, like, I'm not a competitive person. I'm just not a competitive person. And what I found yesterday was I was getting real competitive all day. I was really experiencing something that I have never truly experienced in my business life, in my personal life, which was this collective joy of sharing something with the world. And throughout the day, we had been doing things collectively as a team to see how the book was trending. And our publisher was with us and was giving us reports throughout the day. And we had a intention setting in the morning where we were all just like being in the process of loving and joy with each other. And then as the day went on, all of these numbers started showing up that were just like incredibly powerful numbers. Like we had categorized the book in 8 different categories on Amazon. And we had broken through early in the day all of those 8 categories in the top 100. By the end of the day, we had become best selling in every one of those categories. And we broke through to number 1 in 2 of those categories, actually 3 of those categories: women in business, women in coaching and mentoring, and I'm forgetting the third one. And what I didn't realize was like, holy cow. I would say another word. I'm a Jersey girl, but I'm keeping this clean so I can say on YouTube that it's clean. I was like, oh my gosh, I had played so small. I played so small in my dream for this book. I had played so small. I had forgotten that for every 5 books sold, our partner Kiva would fund a microloan for another woman. I had played so small that in my bio, I can now say, like, literally, I am a best-selling author. And so I wanted to share this conversation with us because sometimes I think we get in a place where we play small around our own conversations around humility, celebration, competition. And sometimes we keep our expectations really low so we don't get hurt. And I think what I learned from a leadership perspective yesterday was something that I'm in such gratitude towards the 2 coaches who helped us through this process gave us, which was, what if? What if we became best-selling authors? And what if, for me personally, my story around my grief journey gets in the hands of women and men who are going through what I know to be 100% true, the most traumatic time in my life, that this is actually a gift that through this best-selling status, more people will have access to. So today, thinking good is thinking big. Today, thinking good is to expect magic. Today, thinking good is putting your big, hairy, audacious goals out there into the world. And today, thinking good is celebrating something you never even believed was possible. And I'm just happy to share these lessons with you today. Have a great day. And as always, remember to think courageously, think good, think differently.